Alright, Chapter 6, Editing in 3D. Autodesk AutoCAD 2013 Practical 3D Design and Drafting and Design. Chapter 3D, Editing in 3D. First chapter, we analyze the application of AutoCAD editing commands commonly used with the 2D, such as the move, copy, scale of the race, which was exactly the same way with 3D as in 2D. Others, such as the fillet and chamfer and the offset, depending on the object plane, some of the much of the mirror and the rotate, depending on the current user coordinate system. In this chapter, we present some of the commands and specifically 3D operation that can be applied to the object. Editing commands specifically styles and surface the subject for the next chapter of the topics covered in the chapter are how to rotate objects around an axis, how to get mirrored objects, how to align objects, how to apply multiple equally spaced copies, how to modify objects with grids, how to modify fun, faces, edges, and vertex. 3D editing commands. The commands that are specifically edited with the 3D rotating around with the axis, applying with a mirror relation of the plane, creating equally spaced copies with the redirection. Aligning with the chapter includes space. Some commands that are less used with the objects that can be useful in the editing parts of the mesh, explained in Chapter 12, Meshes and Surfaces. The access to some of these commands, besides digitizing the name and the alias, can be done by ribbon, home, tab, modeling, plane, modeling, toolbar, or modifying 3D operations to menu bar. And it shows the 3D array align, 3D scale, 3D align, mirror 3D, and 3D move, and 3D rotate. No, in Autodesk 3D, Autodesk recommends applying 3D move, 3D rotate, and 3D align, and 3D scale commands available since version 2007. The reason why they have icons, unless we have the dealing parts with the mess of technical terms and the sub-objects, is faster and easily to apply move, rotate, 3D, align, and scale commands, respectively. All commands except for the move and the scale presented in this chapter. Rotating in 3D. Rotate commands allows you to rotate the object with the angle of the round the base point. Some of the always refers to the X and Y work plane of the current user coordinate system. The 3D frequently rotated around the axis of these two commands for the task. The rotate 3D command, the rotate 3D command, neither has alias nor it can be accessed by an icon or a menu bar. Allows you to rotate selected objects around the axis defined by 2 points, default with the angle, and similar rotate command, except these defines axis instead of point. The command starts with displaying the current value of the angle, direction, angle base, variable prompts for the object selection, angle, direction, variable states of the positive direction, the metric angle, the start of the counterclockwise or clockwise, the angle base, variable to indicate the zero base angle of the defining absolute angles. Command is rotate 3D. Current positive angle, angle direction, counterclockwise, angle base equals 0. Select objects and selection. By default, we specify the axis of the rotation to help with the 2 points. Specify the first point, I-axis of the defined axis by object last view, X, Y, axis, Z axis to 2 points, and the point. Specify the section of the point to point of the axis and its direct pointed point. Next step is the specific relative angle, which the positive direction defined by the angle direction variable. Specify the rotation angle or reference angle. That's under the rotate 3D. This option for the command are object with the axis of the rotation with the defined selection line or over the circle of the element of the 2D polyline with the selection alignment of the axis with the defined with the line position arc and circle with the axis with the defined with the normal ends with the lombads with the through the center with the element and with the polyline the axis with the defined selecting a line and arcing depending on the type of the element. Left apply to the last view of the axis of the rotation view the axis of the rotation defined by the view direction perpendicular to the screen of the path through the point and for that point. X, Y, Z axis. X rotation is defined as X or Y or Z axis direction. Current user coordinate system passes through a point. It primes for that point. Reference instead of specifying the angle value, the option allows you to specify the current angle with a new angle. Any of the two angles can be specified with the 2 points. Note, the rotate 3D command is included with the external application of the GEOM 3D ARX version 2013 GEOM 3DX CRX command stops working given the information if unknown command will must find the reverse application load with the upload command. Alright, the 3D rotate command. Instead of rotate 3D, it's 3D rotate. The command alias 3R allows you to specify the value of the rotating object around with the axis. The command has been available since version 2 to have the display of the rotate with the gizmo composed of the 3 circle with the variable and define with the axis of the rotation. Command start with the display of the current value of the angle, direction, angle, base value of the prompt with the object selection. 3D rotate, current positive the angle of the user coordinate system, angle, direction, counterclockwise, angle, base 0, select object selection. Tip. Download the example code. You can download the example code for all packet books for the purchase from your account with www.packetpub.com. The purchase of this book elsewhere can visit with the packetpub support with the register with the files emailed directly to you. The command plays for the rotate gizmo geometric center of the object for the selection prompts of the base point, specify the base point. The rotate gizmo play for the chosen point, command axis point with the 3 axis red, X, green, Y, and blue Z. Pick a rotation axis selection. The selected axis turns yellow and perspective of the axis is displayed right in the value of the angle and the 2 points specify the first point with the command. Displays the rotation dynamically. Specify the angle start point within the type of the angle value. It's just 1, 2, 3, and 4. Over the rotating gizmo, you can call the context menu by right-clicking X with the further option in order to give the gizmo 3D move with the 3D scale with the constraint with the X, Y, and Z in order to relocate line with the gizmo with additional with the option custom gizmo. Define the gizmo on points of the existing object. Note the command compared with the previous one does not allow the rotating object around with the 2 points around the existing object unless we apply the custom gizmo option with the context menu with the need with the extra click for the perform of the rotation. Related variables to the gizmo set is the GTAUTO control of the visual style other than 2D wireframe of the viewpoint of the gizmo display with upon selection with the command of the GTDE fault or control of the 3D move, 3D rotate, 3D scale. Commands replay for the move of the rotate scale with the commands in the viewport visual style with the 2D wireframe GT location, control of the initial of the gizmo, position of the gizmo. Exercise 6.1. From the 2D stair, we created the 3D stair with the following step. The open with the A3D 0601 drawing. The drawing contained with the second stair creates active layer with the 3D stair with a different color by applying press pull inside of the section specifying with the 1-2 units of the extrusion of the stair is created but must be rotated. The fallen this fallen star with the ply rotated defining the axis with the rotating the 2 vertices of the body, selecting left hand and selecting right hand, specifying the angle of the 90 degrees. Save the drawing A3D 060 final drawing. Mirroring in 3D. Autocad uses the next command in the mirror object of the relation for the plane instead of the 2 point with the symmetrical line with the mirror command here with the define the symmetry plane. The mirror 3D plane with the mirror 3D plane allows you the mirror object relation with the plane with the define 3D. Usual commands start with the requesting object selection and commanding the mirror 3D select object selection. Next up, to define the symmetry of the mirror plane, the default is asked for the non-collinear points. First one of the mirror plane, 3 points. Object last X, Y, Z, X, Y, Y, Z, Z, X point, 3 points. 3 points, and the point specified second point of the mirror plane and third point of the mirror plane point. Finally, we decide whether if we maintain both sets or source and mirrored only for the mirrored ones. Delete source object, yes or no, yes or no. Following screenshot shows the source mirrored object, mirrored set. Or the option with the command with the object, the mirror plane with the define with the plane over the object to be selected with the last of the option applied with the same mirror plane with the previous mirror 3D command, the G axis of the mirror plane with the define with the point with the Z direction, useful when we want to plane and perpendicular to something direction. View, the option defines a mirror plane and perpendicular view direction through the point with the prompted X, Y, Y, Z, Z axis of the mirror plane that define a plane parallel X, Y, Y, Z, or Z axis coordinate with the coordinate system passing through the point to be prompted. Should have the original X and Y, Y and Z, and then the Z and X. Note, this command is included with the external application GEMO 3D ARX version of the 2003 13 GEMO 3D CRX. The command stops the working given the information unknown command was found with the respective application loaded with the application AP upload command. multiple copy the general array command in the third dimension. We have the 3D array command. 3D array command. 3D array command alias is give the create equal space multiple copies of the selected object rectangular and polar pattern following these steps. We will start with a demonstration of the rectangular pattern. After selecting objects, choose rectangular. Common 3D array selection options and enter type of the array, rectangular or polar, and we picked in rectangular. We're going to define the number of the rows along the y direction of the current user coordinate system by entering the number of the rows and with a default of 1. Define the number of the columns along the x direction with a default of 1. And enter the number of the levels along the z direction and the default of 1. Next, specify the distance between the equivalent points for the instant in the lower corner of the next left corner, starting with the distance between the rows along with the y negative value. Place the copy to the opposite along the negative y direction. Specify the distance along columns along the x. Specify the distance between the columns along the x. If you want to place multiple copies equally spaced around the axis of the selecting object, choose polar. In 3D array selection object for the enter for the type and use P for polar. Specify how many sets of the selected objects you want and include the original set. Enter the number of items in the array number. The angle field does not accept the positive angle create for the copies current. Clockwise negative value create for the same but clockwise specify angle. Specify the angle to fill. Counterclockwise, clockwise, 360 degrees is the default value. A set that being placed around the axis. Choose between the rotating them and other default that sets are rotated array objects yes or no. Finally, specify the axis of the polar array in 2 points. Specify the center point of the array point and secondly the specs on the rotation of the point. Note: change array command since version 2012 allows for the create 3D arrays in rectangular polar pattern. But to get the same result, if the command with the need to be more clicks away, eventually the array command is the array state with associative. This may change the set of the array parameters. The command is also included with the external application GEM 3D ARX version prior to 2013 GEM 3D CRX. If the command stops working, give the information on a known command. We will find the respective application load with the application load command. Exercise 6.2. The previous two commands will create with the creating a roof with the following 3 steps. Open the A3D 0602 drawing. The drawing contained with the 2 beams, one with a rectangular section, the other with a circular section. These were going to create with the structure of the roof. These elements were created on the plane. First, to rotate them so that the rectangular beam has the lower section of the plane. Apply rotate 3D as axis of the rotation. Specify the low vertex of the selection and the angle of the 90 degrees. Notice the lower face of the rectangular beam on the X plane. To complete the first beam structure, apply with the mirror 3D command 3 times. The first apply with the same. Select the beam to define with the mirror plane with the 3 top vertices. Do not delete the source object. Then apply with the command 2 more times, selecting 1 or 2 more elements to define with the mirror plane with these endpoints with 3 midpoints. To create the first set of the circular beams, apply with the 3D array command. After selecting the circular beam, select the polar array. Specify 6 items, one of which angles of 108 degrees. Consider yes or answer of the rotation array objects, well as beam is circular, yes or no. Area, both valid answers. End of the point with the axis retained in the train with the tracking with the object with the lowest vertex. The midpoint with the horizontal beam with the end point with the second axis, and any point with the positive y-axis. Now apply all objects for the 3D array command of the rectangular take 10 rows, 1 over the column with 1 level the distance between the rows 2 and 9. Alright, note, as we want to copy multiply copy in one direction instead of applying with this command, we get the same result of the version 2012 layer with the copy command with array option with array, negative array, and array class. The command with the version 2012 the array command will be easier. Finally, delete the last set of circular beams and save the drawing as A3D 0602 final drawing. Alright, now you have the roof, the aligning objects. We need to align the 2 objects plane by playing with maybe to provide 1 move. The 2 rotations to move commands can perform the task easily. Align command, or alias AL allows you to align the 2 objects that define with the corresponding between the 3 pairs a point. The source point defines the plane with the object to be aligned. 3 destination point with the defined plane with the target object with the selected object with the line. Only these are to be moved and rotated. So we specify the first point with the object to be placed. We give the command align. We select the object selection and then the first source point. We then specify the target object with the 2 point defined with the translation. Select the first destination with the point. And we specify the first and second pair of objects to be placed. Instead of specifying it as a point, we press enter for the command is equivalent to move. And second source point would then to be the move. It would be second point with the second pair with the target. The 2 points defined in the first rotation. Specify the second destination point. We specify the first point and third point pair of objects to be placed. So specifying the point, we press enter for the command. All allows you to align only 2D, 1 translation, 1 rotation. It prompts we scale the selected object based on the 2 pairs of points. Specify the third source point and continue point. Specify the second point with the third pair on the targeted object. Select with the objects moved and rotated. Both planes are aligned. Specify the third point, destination point, and then we show the first pair, the second pair, third pair, and result. This command also can be quite useful in 2D. Just the definition, 2 pair of the 2 points of equivalent may have 1 rotation and with a reference for the equivalent eventually in 1 scale with a reference. Shows the scale objects no, scale object yes. During a line command, it's very useful for the orbiter to zoom in order to specify the points of the precision selected object inside of the target order. Object being outside. It means second and the third destination point was specified in the opposite direction. The command also included the external application GEMO 3DRX versions prior to 2013. GEMO 3D CRX and command side with the given information unknown command was find the respective application loaded with the application load command. 3D align command. The 3D align command, or 3AL, is another command that allows you to align with the selected object command. Is different with the align command in 2 ways. The first, we select with the resource points. After 3 destination points for the command become with the dynamic select object. The command becomes a dynamic. That is, selected object followed with the cursor as we are specifying the destination point. Second, are selecting the objects to align with the specified resource point with defined the first plane. The command would be 3D align. Select the object selection. Specify the source of the plane orientation. Specify the base point with a copy of the point. Specify the second point with the continuing base point. Specify the third point and continue. We specify the 3D destination points in the same order. We define the destination plane with the selected object for the cursor. Select the destination plane origination, first destination point, second destination point or exit, third destination point or exit point, and then no, if we selected objects not similar, as a symbol of the fact that always if the cursor can be impair efficiency, moving the cursor with the objects associated to this movement makes it difficult to mark the mark points with precision. Alright, exercise 6.3. We have part of the rotated face. We want to line with the face some other part of the obtained with extrusion with a 3D step on drawing A30603. The drawing consists of the 3D part of the sum of the linear object. First apply with the press and pull command. The offset of the part of the value with a 15. Repeat with the press pull command in the inner circle with a value of 40. Alright, apply the align command, select with the 5, extrude the part of the diversion. Now take with the chance of selection of original linear object, freeze layer 0. Using object snap, tracking between the 2 points, snap the first of the pair parts with extruded parts from the center of rotated face. Specify second and third parts of the point, achieve the midpoints of the edges. See if the drawing as A3D0603 final drawing. Alright, moving object. The move command was normal in 3D. It works normally in 3D. We can move the objects in all directions. Anyway, the command is also visible, preferably with a gizmo. 3D move command allows the alias 3M allows you to move the object from the point of the object along with the axis of the plane, defined with the 2 axes, specifically given represented the 3 axes as way with the default geometric center of the object, and then after selecting the object to make the command with the base point and show the move of the gizmo. The command would be 3D move select objects in selection. The specify the point commands act for the move command prompting. For the second point, normally we select the axis or a plane. Specify the base point with the displacement of the axis selection. The selected objects move along with the axis for the plane. We can specify the point at a value along the axis, move and specify the move point, move, copy, undo, exit, and point, and or value. The options of the commands are base point with the option promote, prompt the base point with the move with the copy of the option, allow for the copy of the object for the chosen direction in the plane. Copy the move command. Only advantage of the command is all allows you to apply some of the options of the context menu with the line on the gizmo to you with the coordinate system favor the 3 point for the move of the copy along with the one on the direction of the current access, and then show the line with the gizmo with world WC current UCS or object. Scaling objects. We have 3D scale command with apply with the scale factor object for the part with the object. Normally we can apply with the scale command unless we need the constraints of the scale to access the plane for mesh of the 3D scale command. 3D scale command alias 3S allows you to apply with the scale factor for the object for the parts of the object. The command has been available since version 2010. After selecting the object, scale gizmo is displayed. Scale 3D selection, select object selection. Scale gizmo is displayed with the command prompt with the base point for which the scale factor is applied. Specify the base point and then the command prompt for the selection axis for the plane for the solid surface. We can only indicate with the gizmo for make the scale axis with the plane axis selection. Finally, we apply the scale factor to either specify the point or digitizing a value, specify the factor or copy reference point of value. And the options of the command are copy that allows you to copy the object for the scale applied. Reference scale factors define existing distance and a new distance. Similar same option with the scale command. Note, for solid surface we can apply non-uniform scales. Instead, we should apply the scale command. Alright, editing with grips. We select the surface with the command with the grip that's displayed with depending on the type of the object. The grips are small blue square with the blue default that allows you to perform several editing operations. On an active grip that turns red by default when we can move it elsewhere through the changing the object. Let's some of the example of the box. Activating one of the arrow grips, this allows you to adjust the length of the width of the height. Activating one of the square groups allows you to change the simultaneously length of the width. Midst with addition with the back of the grips we can control with the top of the radius. Extruded solids we change with the sort of the linear objects as well, but there's the height with the extrusion plane surface. With grips is only possible with the move of the surface. Surface obtained from linear object, we adjust surface by moving any of the grips coming from the source of the linear object addition. With the extruded surface, it is also possible to adjust the height and or extrusion. Alright, editing sub-objects. AutoCAD allows you to modify solids and surface methods and meshes by moving sub-objects. Sub-objects are face edges and vertex. Sub-edges are selected by pressing Control key, selecting a face edge or a vertex. If you were the AutoCAD environment based on the ribbon, you may filter the type of the sub-object at home selection. And you can filter that by no filter, vertex, edge, or face, and the cutting. If it's possible to select one or the one subject, keep the Control key pressed. By using sub-objects, it's quite easy to modify the shape of the object. For instance, we may create a four-sided pyramid, then move the two opposite edges to create a rectangular pyramid. That's done with the Control key pressed down. Summary, we include the chapter with the general 3D editing command that can be applied with a shovel type of the object with the present with the rotate 3D rotate command with the rotate object around the axis mirror 3D mirrors object relations with the plane 3D array creates the multiple copy of the rectangular polar pattern align 3D aligning lines object 3D move 3D scale move with the change of the scale. We also verified how to edit the grips and sub-objects, face edges, and vertices. This new chapter will present all commands to edit all surfaces. Chapter 7, Editing Solids and Surfaces.